What is happening at Red Bull? Why did the team suddenly cut ties with Christian Horner? And what does it mean for Max Verstappen's future? With the championship slipping,
Max Verstappen, two-time world champion. Woo!
Verstappen carrying nearly the entire team's points, and Mercedes ready to strike, Red Bull is in full crisis management. The new boss, Laurent Mekies, is already making changes. Spa brought critical upgrades, but Verstappen's future? It is very uncertain. His next move could flip the entire grid. In this video, we discuss how Red Bull got here, what Mekies is doing to stabilize the ship, how Verstappen's reacting, and whether the team's gamble pays off or backfires hard. Hit like, subscribe, and let's get into it. Christian Horner's sudden exit as Red Bull team principal just after the British Grand Prix sent shockwaves through the paddock. The man who built Red Bull into a six-time Constructors' champion was out, and with him, potentially, the glue holding Max Verstappen to Milton Keynes. The Dutchman may be contracted through 2028, but a bombshell clause in his contract reportedly allows him to walk if he drops below third in the championship standings after the Hungarian GP. Right now, he sits just 18 points ahead of George Russell in fourth. The margin is tight, and Mercedes is circling. Mercedes CEO Ola Källenius has already greenlit a massive budget to sign Verstappen for 2026. The only thing standing in the way? Verstappen's decision to make the move. That buyout could cost upwards of 100 million euros. Yet Red Bull's top brass appears willing to let him go rather than endure another power struggle, especially where Verstappen's camp includes his influential father Jos, who long opposed Horner's leadership. With Horner out, the Verstappen to Mercedes narrative suddenly sounds more plausible than ever. But is Max even interested? Let's see what he had to say. Max Verstappen is not playing the media game. Asked repeatedly if Horner's exit changed his future, he waved it off. He flatly said, "It does not influence what I'm doing. I know that I'm here and I'm happy with where I'm at." He emphasized performance over politics, making it clear that only the car's competitiveness would sway him, not boardroom drama. But the cracks are showing. His father, Jos, had called for Horner's removal back in early 2024, warning the team would fall apart otherwise. Horner surviving a harassment scandal, Red Bull's declining performance, and Verstappen's simmering frustrations with the car have all chipped away at the aura of invincibility. Verstappen admitted the team felt like a second family, but added, "No one is there forever." He is meeting regularly with Laurent Mekies, the new boss, but when asked about his future, Max was evasive. There is also the possibility of not waking up tomorrow. He shrugged. That wasn't a denial, that was just a clever sidestep. So if Max won't give answers, let's ask this instead. Did Red Bull fire Horner as a last-ditch effort to keep him? Let's cut through the noise. Horner's exit was calculated. Behind closed doors, it was an open secret that his feud with the Verstappen camp had become a toxic distraction. From the outside, it looked like Red Bull chose its driver over its boss. From the inside, it was a reset button after months of internal decay. Horner survived 2 investigations, but couldn't survive the brain drain. Adrian Newey left for Aston Martin. Sporting director Jonathan Wheatley and strategy chief Will Courtney walked too. Red Bull's dominance eroded as McLaren surged. Of the team's 210 points this season, Verstappen scored 203, an outrageous 97%. Red Bull couldn't afford to lose the one man still delivering. Mekies' appointment sent a message. Verstappen is now the nucleus. Jos Verstappen got what he wanted. Helmut Marko is back in control. But it's a gamble. There's no guarantee Max stays beyond 2025. And Mercedes? They're lurking with a blank check. So who's the man Red Bull put their chips on? Mekies is no Horner clone. Let's talk about his opening weeks. Laurent Mekies has stepped into chaos, but he is not blinking. In his first days, he met multiple times with Verstappen and made fast moves on the simulator setup. Mekies brings a rare combo, deep engineering chops and driver-savvy communication. Carlos Sainz called him incredibly hardworking, with a gift for making drivers feel heard. Tsunoda agrees. Max? He's very clever. I like the fire. He's not a figurehead. Mekies is already reshaping how feedback gets funneled from drivers to engineers. The Frenchman's background, Ferrari, FIA, Toro Rosso, gives him a well-rounded view of how elite teams tick. But he's not Horner 2.0. Red Bull has deliberately trimmed the team principal's role. Helmut Marko confirmed Mekies is more focused on racing with fewer political distractions. And so far, Verstappen seems intrigued. He knows this is a transition, not a revolution. "Time will tell," he said, but you can feel the gears turning. Now the question becomes, Can Mekies and Red Bull give Max the one thing he craves, raw pace? Let's break down the upgrade war at Spa. Spa is no place to hide, and Red Bull brought the goods. Sporting a new front wing, suspension tweaks, and refined airflow elements, the RB21 was loaded with upgrades. But in Friday's sprint shootout, McLaren's Oscar Piastri shattered expectations, nailing a 1 minute 40 seconds and a 510 milliseconds lap time that left Verstappen trailing by half a second.
Oscar Piastri has left them all behind. A 1:40.510, 4/10 of a second ahead of Max Verstappen, who's ahead of Norris, his closest rival for the title. Might only be sprint pole, but it's a statement lap for Oscar Piastri.
A brutal wake-up call. Piastri took pole, Norris was third, Verstappen settled for second, best of the rest, and his teammate, Yuki Tsunoda, was a staggering 6/10 slower. Once again, Verstappen is carrying Red Bull on his back. Ferrari debuted its revised rear suspension, aiming to stabilize the ride and improve consistency. But Lewis Hamilton, now in red, spun off due to a braking issue. He starts 18th. George Russell and Kimi Antonelli also suffered early exits. Tough day for Mercedes. Williams, McLaren, and Aston Martin all brought sharp aerodynamic changes. But it's McLaren's rear wing efficiency that's rewriting the order right now. With Piastri on a streak of sprint podiums and leading the standings by 69 points over Verstappen, the pressure is on. So where does Red Bull go from here? This is the calm before 2026. But make no mistake, what's next will define their future. The Verstappen question still hovers. Mekies has earned goodwill, but winning that long-term signature means making the RB21 a weapon, fast. Every result from Spa to Hungary matters. If Verstappen drops from the top 3 in points, that escape clause activates. The cost? Huge. The consequence? Devastating. Behind the scenes, the next car is already in the works, and for the first time, Red Bull will race its in-house engine in 2026. That means pressure on Mekies to bridge short-term gains with long-term transformation. He's working without Horner's political insulation. Every call matters now. Red Bull says they're all in on Max, but so is Mercedes. If the RB21 can't claw back ground on McLaren and Ferrari by the summer break, Verstappen's loyalty may hit its limit. And if he goes, it's not just a driver switch, it's a full-on identity crisis for Red Bull. Meanwhile, Sebastian Vettel lurks as a wildcard replacement for Helmut Marko. The era of new leadership is here. Mekies is at the helm. Verstappen is holding the cards. One upgrade, one spin, one big mistake, everything will be in motion. And Formula One's next power shift may already be underway. In the end, this isn't just about leadership, it's about control. Red Bull's future hangs on whether Mekies can deliver results fast enough to convince Verstappen to stay. The upgraded RB21 has potential, but with McLaren pulling away and Ferrari regaining traction, the margin for error is zero. Mercedes is watching. But if Red Bull stumbles again, that escape clause becomes a ticking bomb. The Horner era is over. What comes next could define the next decade of F1. Will Max double down, or is he already halfway out the door? Drop your predictions below, hit like, and subscribe for more from inside the paddock chaos.